Gooby Goob.
Written by Christopher Stitt. Illustrated by Janine Dawson. Chapter 1. The Gooby Goob Thief.
Who's taking my Gooby Goob?
Yelled Miss Parker as a poster fell from the wall. I looked down at my desk. I couldn't look her in the eye.
Every time I hang a poster on the wall, someone steals my Gooby Goob,
said Miss Parker.
I want to know who.
There was no way I was going to confess. Imagine being known as the Gooby Goob thief. I guess I better explain what Gooby Goob is. It's this sticky stuff you use to stick posters on the wall. When you take the posters down, the goop doesn't leave a mark. It's the most amazing stuff. It feels good too. It's all squishy and you can mold it into all sorts of things. I love it so much. I've started my own collection. When Miss Parker isn't looking, I take the Gooby Goob from her posters. I know it's wrong, but I can't help it.
I'm going to check everyone's hands on the way out,
said Miss Parker when the bell rang. Oh no, what was I going to do?
Open your hands, Stacy,
said Miss Parker. I opened my hands and smiled. When I got outside, I took the lump of Gooby Goob from my mouth. Another piece to add to my collection. Chapter 2. The Collection.
Open the door, Stacy.
It was my little pest of a brother, Patrick.
Go away,
I said.
I want to come into the clubhouse.
He hasn't been in there for months. That's why I chose the clubhouse for my Gooby Goob collection. I opened the door a crack.
I'm busy. What are you doing in there?
He asked. I gave him a chocolate bar.
Go away.
Patrick looked at the chocolate bar.
I don't want it. I want to come in. You can't. I'm doing a special school project. It's a secret.
Patrick looked cranky.
I'll tell Mom. No, you won't. Mom!
What a loud, squeaky voice. I had no choice.
Shh, I'll let you in.
I opened the door and Patrick barged in. Then he stopped, his mouth wide open.
Where do you get all this Gooby Goob? Places.
I warned Patrick not to tell anyone. I told him that I was entering a contest. I want to set the world record for the largest Gooby Goob collection.
Dinner's ready,
called Mom. I locked the clubhouse door and followed Patrick back into the house. Chapter 3. It Lives. After dinner, we sat down to watch television. A special report came on.
I am Professor Goop. I invented Gooby Goob. We have discovered that it has a technical problem. Return your Gooby Goob for a full refund. After further testing, Gooby Goob will be back, better than ever. Did you hear that, Joanne?
Dad said to Mom.
Our Gooby Goob is defective.
Mom turned to Patrick and me.
Take all the Gooby Goob off your walls. I'll return it in the morning.
Patrick panicked as we went outside.
Mom said you have to return it. No way, it's mine.
There was no way I was going to give up my Gooby Goob. No one knew I had it. No one except Patrick.
There's something wrong with it. You have to return it. I bet you'll get a lot of money for it.
Patrick squawked. He was right. I get lots of money, but I didn't care. I wanted my Gooby Goob.
If you tell about my Gooby Goob, I'll tell Mom that you scratched the new car. You wouldn't!
He gasped.
I would,
I said. I unlocked the clubhouse door. All the Gooby Goob was gone, disappeared, and there was an enormous hole in the back wall. What had happened?
Look,
said Patrick, pointing to huge Gooby Goob footprints.
I think your Gooby Goob turned into a monster.
I didn't think that was possible, but we went back inside to check my room. There was no hole in my wall. My posters were still hanging.
Why hasn't this Gooby Goob turned into a monster?
asked Patrick.
How should I know? I'm not a scientist.
We took the Gooby Goob off our walls and gave it to Mom. She was watching TV. A reporter was standing at our local gas station. It was on fire. Chapter 4. Attack of the Gooby Goob.
What happened?
I asked.
Something destroyed the gas station. They don't know what it was. All they could find was a blob of Gooby Goob.
Gooby Goob. My Gooby Goob! I had to do something. This was all my fault. I ran and looked up Professor Goop's number.
Hello? Professor Goop? Yes? Who's this? I'm very busy. I have some Gooby Goob to catch. It's all my fault,
I sobbed.
It's my Gooby Goob that's terrorizing the city.
The professor breathed deeply.
Why was there so much Gooby Goob in one place?
I felt silly.
I collected.
I whispered.
Pardon? Collected. I collect Gooby Goob.
There was no response.
Professor, are you still there?
I said.
This is serious. You had too much Gooby Goob in one place. I've been doing some experiments. Gooby Goob is quite dangerous in large quantities.
How was I supposed to know it was dangerous? He should have done his experience before he sold the stuff. But I felt bad and wanted to help.
I'm going to bed.
I kissed Mom and Dad.
I'm really tired tonight. Are you sick?
Asked Mom.
I'm fine,
I said. Meanwhile, Patrick was giving me a funny look. He knew I was up to something. I filled my bed with stuffed toys in case Mom or Dad checked on me. I put on my jacket and climbed out the window.
Going somewhere?
Asked Patrick. He was waiting beside the clubhouse.
What are you doing here?
I asked.
I'm coming with you,
he said. I had to take him with me, or he'd tell Mom. We headed for the professor's lab.
Changing narrator. Chapter 5. Stopping a Gooby Goob monster. The professor's lab was a large, dark, scary-looking place.
Are you sure this is the right place?
Whispered Patrick.
Yes, I'm sure.
I rang the doorbell. The professor appeared on a monitor.
Go away. I have a very serious problem to deal with.
My name is Stacy. It was my Gooby Goob that turned into a monster. I feel really bad, and I want to help.
Well, I suppose I could use some help. Come in,
said the professor. The gates opened. Patrick and I followed the path up to the lab. A robot opened the door.
Welcome, follow me.
The professor was in a panic. His lab was a mess.
I've tried everything. Nothing seems to work.
I know how to get rid of Gooby Goob,
said Patrick with a smile.
You?
I laughed.
The other morning at breakfast, I was playing with a glob of Gooby Goob. I accidentally dropped it into my orange juice. It fizzled and disappeared.
The professor ran to get some orange juice. He poured it into a glass jar. Then he added a glob of Gooby Goob. At first, nothing happened.
Good one, Patrick,
I said. Then the Gooby Goob began to fizzle. Professor Goop picked up the jar.
It's gone. The boy was right.
We can stop the monster now,
I said.
We can fill our squirt guns with orange juice and squirt the monster.
Right,
said the professor.
Let's go and get those squirt guns.
Chapter 6. On the Trail. We got our squirt guns from the clubhouse and filled them with orange juice. Professor Goop drove us around looking for any sign of the monster.
Look!
Yelled Patrick.
Over there!
We stopped at Finch Park. All the playground equipment was covered in Gooby Goob. I looked at the swing.
I hope there were no kids playing here. Baby Goop for sure,
said Patrick. Professor Goop held his head in his hands.
I hope there were no children here. I'd never forgive myself.
Don't worry, Professor. I'm sure there weren't,
I said. Then I noticed a trail of Gooby Goob leading off down the road.
Looks like the monster went that way. No, it's over there!
Screamed Patrick. The Gooby Goob monster appeared from behind a house. It snarled at us.
Run for the car!
Yelled the professor. We ran as fast as we could. The monster was getting closer. I jumped into the car, grabbed my squirt gun, and aimed. Fire! The orange juice hit the monster's foot. It fizzled, and the monster danced around holding its foot. Before I could get another shot, the monster made a break for it.
It's getting away!
I screamed. Professor Goop started the engine.
Quick!
I urged.
Too late!
Said Patrick. He was right. The monster was gone. We turned on the radio for the latest news.
Monster alert. The monster was last seen at the Westlands Mall.
The professor drove straight there. The monster was on the roof. Police cars and fire engines were everywhere.
Stop!
Yelled the policeman.
I am Professor Goop. I invented Gooby Goob and I know how to destroy it. You have to let us through.
The policeman scratched his head.
Alright, you can't take the kids though. What kids? These are my assistants.
We ran up the ramp to the parking lot on the roof.
We have to get closer.
I yelled. The monster turned and saw me. He raised his arm and flicked it. A huge glob of Gooby Goob flew toward me. I wasn't quick enough to get out of the way. The Gooby Goob landed on me and pinned me to the ground. I was trapped in Gooby Goob. The monster lumbered toward me. Chapter 7. Whose End? The Gooby Goob monster towered over me. He raised his giant gooey foot. I struggled, but I couldn't move.
Help! Get me out of here!
Something wet splattered on my face. It tasted like orange juice. I looked up and saw Patrick. The Gooby Goob I was stuck in fizzled. Just as the monster foot came crashing down, I escaped.
Phew! Thanks!
We took off. I'd always liked Gooby Goob, but not like this. I panicked. It was so big, so mean. What were we going to do?
Stop!
I yelled. The monster stopped.
I created you. I collect all that Gooby Goob in one place. That's why you exist. Now, do as I say. Stop destroying things. You're giving Gooby Goob a bad name.
The monster looked at me and began to rumble. It let out a ground-shaking roar. It looked really mad now. I thought I was going to be squashed like a bug.
Let him have it!
I yelled. The professor, Patrick, and I squirted the monster with 3 long lines of juice. It began to fizzle. Then the monster melted into a big, slimy pool of muck at our feet. The police arrived.
You did it. Yes,
Said the professor.
you've seen the end of Gooby Goob.
The end!
I shrieked.
It can't be the end.
My life wouldn't be the same without Gooby Goob. What would we use to hang up our posters? I'd never get to set the world record now. Chapter 8. It's not the end yet. I went to visit Professor Goop.
How is the new batch of Gooby Goob looking?
I'm giving up. I've tried everything. Nothing works as well as Gooby Goob.
You can't just give up, Professor.
I pleaded.
What would the world be like if scientists gave up whenever things got tough?
I tried to imagine living without things like TV or cars. It would be like the prehistoric days. Besides, the world needed Gooby Goob. I had to help the professor.
Maybe you need a new place to work so you can get new ideas.
I suggested. The professor agreed and started packing. We helped him move his lab into our clubhouse. But Patrick kept complaining that the new stuff might be as dangerous as Gooby Goob.
You worry too much, Patrick.
I said.
Even Mom and Dad thinks it's a good idea to try again. The professor is going to make sure it's safe this time.
Professor Goob did invent a new kind of Gooby Goob. It's even better than the original. I have a huge collection of it. He called it Stacy's Sticky Stuff. This time, he tested it thoroughly. No more monsters, I don't want a giant sticky Stacy terrorizing the city,
Who's taking my sticky stuff?
yelled Miss Parker. I just can't help myself. The end.